Cameras are on.
Yes.
So we're officially calling this meeting to order. This is the Crook County Long Range Facilities Planning Committee. And we're gonna start with a flag salute. So our flag's up there. All stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So some of you were able to join us at our December meeting. My name is Joel Hoff. I'm the interim superintendent here in the school district. And for our long range facilities committee, we are looking ahead and we're saying, what does Crook County School District need facilities wise? Do we need gyms? Do we need fields? Do we need classrooms? Do we need new schools? And a big part of that is hearing from the community. So as I'm looking around, I'm seeing so many awesome people that represent different elements of the community. And we need your voice and your vision to help us decide how the district moves forward. So if you weren't at actually, we're gonna start off with getting your input. I'm assuming everyone has a cell phone. If you don't worry. If you could, the question is, what does the school district need to do in order to pass our next bond? Our last two bonds have not passed. So we want to get input on what do you see as what the school district needs to do in order to pass our next bond? If you have your phone, you just hold it on that QR code. It'll take it to that and it'll project your answers up there. So we'll just take 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. What does our school district need? Someone already said to pray, which we definitely are happy to pray. What does our school district need to pass our next bond? You got QR codes there. Go ahead, if you need any help, let me know. Just tell me. Right, not a bad idea. We got better communication on what it'll cost taxpayers. Right. Little unity, I like that. Sell the dream. I love this one. Specifics, clear messaging. What the district wants, what's the district vision. I don't know if I'm seeing pray again or it's just moved. Create, communicate accurately. Excitement. Definitely. Transparency around communication. I love that one. Keep things simple. Reasonable tax rate. Anyone in here like to have their taxes raised? Exactly. Let's do about 1 more minute. Traditional curriculum. That's one thing we heard in our last bond. People were concerned about curriculum, so then they didn't vote for the facilities. So that's definitely something we've heard. Repairs, something we talked about last time. We got 4 more people typing, so we'll give about 30 more seconds. Someone put community voice, which is why we're wanting to kind of start with you all of putting together the right package.
Hire a good superintendent. I just couldn't spell superintendent.
Yeah, there you go.
Say super.
Yeah.
I hear there's a survey on it.
Yeah.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll gather these all, organize them and get them back to you, but we wanted to start because when we think of the long range facilities committee and our purpose, it's really twofold. So the first thing that we have to do, and this is more of like a technical thing, is we have to complete what's called a long range facilities plan. And that's something with the ODE, the Oregon Department of Education. And it's something we do where we hire some architects, they complete an official plan. And the reason we do that is it allows us to apply for a free $6 million that will then be able to attach to our bond. So that's one thing, and
There's certain check boxes we have to do. So that's one thing that this committee is all about, is to get that long range facilities plan in place. And then the second thing to do is to kind of going coinciding with that is to plan for a bond. What do you guys want for our schools? What is the next step and what do we need to do? So those are our two main objectives that we're trying to do as part of this. What you'll see, if you're able to grab it, Nick, can I borrow your copy?
Sure can.
So, last meeting. You guys, our kind of entry task was, what did you want to see? And we said, oh, what's a new middle school, a new high school, repair some roofs, boilers. So we took all the suggestions that you guys had. And we put, what is that actual cost? So you start to get cost to, what does a new high school cost? What does the middle school cost? So we have that, we decided what we need and what that costs. And then to give you just a quick timeline of how this all plays out. So back in October, November, the architects went and they went through every Kirk County School District building and said how much it costs to repair or how much it costs to replace. So they did that. Then from December through March, this group will meet and we'll develop what that actual plan looks like and what our bond projects will look like. Then from there, we'll take those projects to the school board and ask for their approval to say, is this something that you're interested in approving? And then finally, once we get the school board approval, then we put a measure to an election, maybe next November, to take it to the voters to say, would you approve this bond? So that's the timeline of how this all kind of sits. So we're right in that December, March of kind of developing what that looks like. So today, what we'll look at, two objectives, we'll review what our enrollment looks like. What's our projected enrollment? Do we need to build a new elementary school or do we have enough capacity? Do we need to build a new high school? We'll do that. And then we'll also look at, we'll narrow down, you'll work and you'll say, now that we know all the things that we're interested in and how much they cost, we're gonna have to start prioritizing them. We can't do, I think if we did everything that people said, I think it was over $1 billion. So we're gonna have to narrow that down by about 90% or a decent amount. So we'll look at how much things cost and what we think we'll be able to do. With that, this will be quick. Your name, what you do, and how long you've been in Prineville. Rapid fire. Joel Hoff, worked for the school district, been here 14 years. John, you next?
John Thompson, been here since '86. I'm retired. Wayne Lenny, I'm retired, been here for 22 years.
Jake Ziegler, City of Prineville, been here my whole life.
Kevin Bradley, I'm retired, I'm a member of the school board and I've been here 45 years.
Rob Bonner, I'm the athletic director and at the high school, and I've been here since 1999.
Russ Booth, Fire Department, been here 39 years.
Eric Ryan, Director of Technology, August 2020.
Steve Waring, Parks and Recreation District, and I'll be here 3 years in March.
Anna Logan, Kirk County School District CFO. I've been here the majority of the.
Tom Everest, Facilities Manager, County School District, I've been here for 20 years. Don Hammond, I'm School District Facilities, been here for 11 years.
Wayne, you got 14 years, retired.
Jake Huffman, High School Principal, been here since '06.
Amy Parker, Executive Assistant, and I actually live in Claremont, but I've been there for 30 years.
I'll vouch for Tammy. She's one of us.
Karen Montevino, Architect and Consultant. Heidi Slayla, Architect and Consultant. Been in Central Oregon for 22 years. It's close.
My name's Trent Booth, worked for Les Schwab, born and raised right here in Kirk County for 6 years.
Dave Freitag, I'm retired, I've been here 22 years.
Legal Bliss, Director of Operations for the school district, and I lived here for 10 years.
Jeff Kaufman, School Resource Officer, Prineville PD for 39 years.
Dave Fields, Deputy State Fire Marshal, retired, lived here since '87.
Andrea Weaver, I'm with Explore Prineville and I've been here for 5 years.
Marcus Hayes, Middle School Principal, I've been here 6 years.
Ryan Cochran, CTE Director, 21 years.
Linda Pepper, retired from Kirk County, been here 40 years.
Christy Jackson, special education, Barney Elementary. I've been here 30 years and with the district for 14.
Nick Gilbertson, principal at Barnesville Elementary, and my family's been here for 42 years. Class 98.
So 98.
Yeah, boy.
Prineville, 98.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got a quick housekeeping thing we have to do. We have a list of people that they come to this meeting, but then we also have this other committee meeting. And they're the ones that have to attend extra meetings and approve the minutes. So, and we have to do this as part of the public record. So Tammy has sent the minutes. Anyone on this list, a motion to approve them, and then we'll do a roll call vote.
I move to approve as presented.
I second.
Second, okay, so we have to do a roll call. I'll call your name and just say yes or no. Kevin Riley? Yeah. Jen Knight's online, Eric?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Leland Bliss? Yes. Mark Sace?
Yes.
Terry Lombach's not here. Scott Waite's not here. Jake Cheever's not here. Christy Jackson?
Yes.
Jake Huffman?
Yes.
Eric Ryan?
Yes.
Anna Logan?
Yes.
That might have been confusing. Housekeeping. Tammy, you go, you
I did, and how do you vote, Joel?
I vote yes. Yeah. Thank you. Hey, with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Anna Logan to talk about everyone's favorite topic, taxes.
Taxes as it relates to school bonding. I don't really like property taxes in general, but as funding goes for school districts, that's really our only way to raise money for capital. So, basically what happens is we have a regular property tax that we pay to support the operations of the schools. And then the community has the option to, pass bond measure to raise additional tax money to pay for capital improvements. So that's what we're talking about, that second piece there that we're talking about when we say the bonds that we have out there. Right now, we only have one set of bonds, that was from the 2013 bond measure election that passed. And that is, shown here, the remainder of that debt to pay down those bonds is shown in 2038, the year 2038. When this bond was taken to the public, this bond proposal was taken to the public, it was proposed and projected that it would not exceed $1.03 per thousand of assessed value. It never reached $1.03. The very first year after we issued the bonds, we was like 94 cents. And every year it's gone down since then. Right now, we're at 63 cents. With time, especially as the data centers come on to the tax rolls, this number is projected to go way, way down. And then at the end of 2038, by 2039, it will be completely paid off. So if we don't pass any bonds between now and 2039, there will be no property tax that's additional above the regular operating tax for schools. So that's that image.
Anna? Do you have, in those projected, are you including the data centers in that?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, this does include the data center addition, and it is consulted. So it actually could be less, or could be better or worse than this. That's helpful. So this just kind of shows some similar school districts and what does that mean. Like I mentioned, for most districts, there's two kinds of taxes, like I just said. There's the operating taxes, which that's the dark blue. And then there's school bonds, which are this teal color. Some districts also have an operating levy, which we've never had here in Central Oregon, and they're not very popular. But a couple of districts have those. And the reason they're shown stacked is to kind of see the grand totals that each district is paying for property taxes in their per thousand assessment. So it's got Hermiston, Hood River County, Jefferson County, Redmond School District, Morrow, Bend Pine, Umatilla, Pendleton, LeGrand, Sisters, Milton, Water, Cook County, that's us, Baker School District, Nissa, Vale, Ontario, Clarendon County, and Klamath Falls City. So basically what they did, we had a company do this analysis for us, and they picked school districts that they felt like were similar to us, whether it's the size or the type of community. And so you can kind of see, we're not at the top over here. And the teal part, we're actually some of the smallest, as far as how much school bond taxes we have. So, but you have to kind of look at your community as a whole and how much taxes are they paying, so that's why they're on this here. So what I did is I asked this company, Piper Sandler, to do 3 scenarios for us. Each scenario that they run is very complex. I deal with very, very complex stuff all the time, and I don't have spreadsheets that do what their systems do. So I asked them to do 3. I could have asked them to do 100, but I asked them to do 3. The first one was, what if we go up to $1? Right now we're at 63 cents. By next year we'll be at a $1. So what if we went up to $1? Then I asked, what if we go up to an average of what the taxes are for some of our school districts, and ask them, what is that average? And then I said, well, what would happen if we needed to raise $200 million? That feels like a huge number. The last bond that we passed was $33 million. The next bond that we went out for was 66 million. And then the next bond that we did was just a very, very small one, because it was a very unique circumstance, so it doesn't really, you can't really compare it. But in the last meeting that we had with this group, we talked about the possibility of meeting high school. That's $200 million. And so that's where I got that number. Leland's going to talk a little bit later about why the numbers we see on these cost estimates seem like they're really large. But they're accurate. So here's the answers to these questions. The first one is, if we bring our taxes up to $1, we could get $109 million to spend. The average rate, if we brought ourselves up to the average rate for similar school districts, that would give us, we would increase the per thousand to $1.25. 75 cents more than we paid this year. That gives us almost $142 million. Then if we needed to raise $200 million, that's $1.69. That actually surprised me. I thought that number was going to be a lot bigger than that. It's still big, and it's still more than I want to pay as an individual on my taxes, but I also know that we have to invest in schools. Otherwise, we cannot teach children if you don't have people in places. Places is the part that we're working.
And that's over how many years?
That would be over 25 years.
And the last high school was $3.84 about.
I'm gonna assume that's a statement and not a question. Of 284. Okay.
What year did that pass?
94, we passed in 94, and then the high school. And then so this really isn't, like astronomical, but there are community that's currently paying 63 cents. That feels like a lot, and it might be.
Am I understanding what Doug said, that in 94, this town was paying $289 per 1,000? So if we were to look at the trend line of that tax number, we would see a steady decrease down to 63.
At the time that bond was paid off, the cost per 1,000 had dropped to $1.
Okay.
Okay, and it was going under $1 the next year, and that's 2012 when we passed then the replacement bond, which Bill Barnes used.
And that's when it went to $1.03. Got it. Thank you.
And then we've got Cole Arts. You guys, we're going to present a little bit on the enrollment projections. We've got some handy as well.
Sorry, this is probably too tiny to be able to read the numbers. I can't even.
We have them print it out, so.
Excellent, so
I'll-
thank
I'll-
Give you a moment. But while you're passing that out, I can just explain how this was calculated. So like, always looking into the future, trying to estimate what the projection, your enrollment's going to be. I think the one thing I can guarantee you is it won't exactly be these numbers. But it is a way of trying to kind of get a handle on how much growth we could see and how our current facilities could handle them. So what you'll see, you can see every school, you can see what the enrollment was this year for 2025, 26, and capacity. So this just kind of calculates a little bit conservatively, but how many students you should be able to house in each one of the schools. And then that kind of orange column basically gives information about, we have either, like for instance, at Barnes Butte, roughly 60 more students could fit into that school. If you see it in parentheses, it means basically you've got 11 extra students than you really probably can fit with the calculations. Then we were looking at your change in the past 7 years, and it varies a little bit from elementary, middle, and high school in the percentages, but as a whole, in those 7 years, the district has grown by 1.9% per year. And so what we just did is we calculated out 1.9% each year for the next 5 years compounded. That makes sense. So it's just to give an idea. We don't have the data on birth rates and all of the development that's going on. With the houses going in, several of the apartment complexes are multifamily housing. And I don't know if you have looked at what the percentage or how many students you're estimating that might generate. Sometimes it's like 1.2 or some kind of factor there. So that's another way we can look at calculating. But it just at least gives you an idea, if you continue to grow at the rate you have in the past 7 years, what that could look like as far as students. So some things to take note about this is really in this blue column. We took those projected numbers in 5 years and again compared them to your existing buildings, looking at really how many classrooms you have and using about 25 students per classroom. And then also a little bit of what we call a utilization factor that allows teachers, especially at the middle school and high school level, to use their room for their planning period. So it decreases the capacity in a school slightly. But this blue column takes those projected numbers. And so as you can start to see, Crooked River, Steens Pillar, and the middle school and the high school could really be feeling some of that pinch. Now that's kind of a conservative estimate about your continued growth. But that kind of at least gives you some information to kind of ponder. So questions about that?
Does this account for modulars that are in place, or is it just the physical buildings?
Great question. It does not. So we typically do not count modulars in a classroom count when calculating capacity of a building. We realize that's intended to be a temporary fix, but ideally for a host of reasons, safety and security being one of them, the optimal condition is to have students within the permanent structure. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This takes into consideration some of the trends about family size and the nature of the people that tend to be moving to our community.
It does not.
It's conservative estimate growth.
And it could, like even if you have a demographer come in and do an in-depth study, they're gonna give you a middle, high, and low. And so this is kind of a little bit more of a lower here. Certainly. Yes, sir.
Well, how is Crook County compared to the adjoining counties as far as enrollment growth? Because I see us growing, but I'm hearing rumors of Deschutes County, then as their enrollment is declining, even though their housing is skyrocketing. I'm confused on how that happened.
I'm gonna give you my best guess on that, and I'll get to your question. My best guess is that a lot of the people moving into Bend are not families or with a lot of kids. Would be kind of part of the reason of that. Bend seems to be a really popular retirement destination right now. I don't have the specific numbers of those districts and the surrounding counties. I'd be happy to get those for you. But I will tell you that, I believe Crook County is one of the very few in the state that's growing. Most school districts are actually facing declines. Part of that is that a lot of people in other parts of the state are choosing not to have as many children. So that's been a factor as well, especially some of the big districts are seeing significant decline.
We did get that data from PSU, Portland State, does a projection for everybody, all the counties throughout the state. And Crook County was one of the few places that is still. Just what Karen is saying, we see a lot of the private schools getting more popular since COVID, and even, I don't know if you've been seeing, you know, the Grizzly Mountain Home Link being more popular. But private schools and the online schools really kind of, we were expecting the populations to go back to the public schools, and they've been kind of nestling out to the other options.
And at this point, I think it's impossible to get a really hard number on this because of the nature of our society. But I think it really warrants some serious investigation, because there are a lot of state districts. Actually, for us, they're much bigger than this one. They're having a real problem with too much space because of declining. And so I think the nature of the nice people, the community, the jailbreak, and the possibility of people having large families, or even environments, that's something to consider.
I think it's an excellent point. And I think that's one of the things that I'm sure you'll want to consider as you determine what you would like the long range plan and the bond package to be, is as much flexibility and kind of measured development.
Just a point of clarification, but I understand you to say 8.9% based on history.
It's based on history.
So past results are not.
No, they are not, but at least it gives you some kind of indication.
That's where we get it.
Yes.
And we grew during, in post-COVID, we were still growing when other districts around Central Oregon were shedding a lot of people. Crook County was growing. And we've grown pretty steady all the way down. And to that point, I think a lot of that has to do with the level of quality district you maintain. But eventually that will wear out. People don't want to, you know, I'm not saying never, but because we have a good school district, which I'm very proud of, have a lot to do with the fact that people came back and put school here.
Yeah, I would imagine that Prineville also really attracts families too. That there would be an added benefit that it would be a wonderful place to raise your children, so.
So, jumping into an activity, you're gonna need, some copies, and I think some of you got these as you came in. So Leland's gonna come up and kind of walk through, like I said, if you came in late, we took all the projects that, you all brainstormed last meeting, and we put a cost range on them to see how much things cost. When we pulled this together, and I think it spit out $1 billion, my jaw dropped. I thought, man, things are expensive. So again, we're gonna have to prioritize. But what I want, and maybe Anna, I believe this sheet, the blue and the purple that has the cost is back there, so if you didn't get one, you'll grab one, so. Leland's gonna go through real quick and just give a sense of where these numbers come from, why things are more expensive, and then we'll jump into an activity where you actually will start to, kind of put together a potential bond proposal, so. Leland?
All right, so. The handout that you have, the most important piece of information on it on the very back page, mainly red. That's what the construction costs are per square foot, or what the renovation costs are per square foot. That number, the high number, probably is more accurate than the low number. That's probably the case in almost all of them. So. When we look at the cost and how come it costs so much to do this stuff. Everything that we do with the bond is gonna be prevailing wage. There's gonna, 25% of your costs are gonna be soft costs. That's gonna be consultants, so architects, engineers, project managers. Permitting, all that kind of stuff's gonna be in there. Plus, it's all gonna be prevailing wage. So everything is gonna be quite a bit more expensive. For the cost of the contractors, for the paying, for living wage, all the books. So that would explain a lot of why the costs are so high. When you look at a new high school, for instance, I think it was middle school. So. I can't remember, might have called Heidi actually about 2 years ago and said, so what's the new middle school cost? It was about 80 million. Caldera got a real good, Ben LaPine got a good deal on Caldera, because remember what it was? Per foot.
It was around 420.
Yeah.
430 a square foot.
Now it's double that.
Yeah, their newest school is coming in at 850 a square foot. Yeah.
Most of these building costs are just the building, that doesn't include all maintenance. We don't really have. We don't have a lot of excess land to put anything at the moment. So that has to be taken into consideration. When you're doing the exercise, I'll wander around, and if you guys have questions for me or whatever, I can help try and answer that for you. But anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Just brainstorming. I'm not married, so I'm just throwing it out there. So, I know last time we talked about building new schools. Is it even feasible at all to add on or to expand existing facilities? Or is that not an option? Yeah.
For the high school, you could add on to the high school on the north side, you could push those, the ed ring buildings right off the edge of that and build, I think, single classrooms off the sides. Probably, before you hit the street.
And so I guess my question for us here is, should that be an option at all? Is it too late in the process to make that an option? Is it not something we want to consider?
It's an option.
Okay.
So Leo, I wanted to chat this with you about the high school option, because when we in 94 built the new high school, we never remodeled the middle school to take advantage of the space that were quote high school facilities. And so we still have 4 ag shops down on the end of it, or a metal shop, a wood shop, an automotive shop, and an ag shop that really aren't converted into classrooms yet. We have a high school type choir ring and a high school type band ring. And we don't have that, we don't use them near as much as we probably should. When we moved from the junior high to the middle school, we left a choir room and a band room at the middle school, or back over at now at Crooked River, that we didn't ever go back and remodel and repurpose. We still have locker rooms in that old junior high. And of course, in a K-5, you don't use locker rooms. So again, you end up with a lot of wasted space. So if you're going to repurpose a building, you need to remodel it and fix it as part of the cost of creating the new one. So we don't end up with, we're, 40 years later, and we're sitting here saying we've still never reclaimed those metal shops and wood shops and made them back into classrooms. We've never fixed the band rooms and the music rooms in the Crooked River Elementary to make them into educational spaces.
I can remember when we went through this last month. It seemed like there was a statement made about the ability to restructure the middle school, for instance. And the fact that it didn't have a load-bearing interior wall of how, which has a lot to do with what you're able to do underneath. And what can you say about that?
The school's supposed to be in construction, so most of the walls that are on the inside of that school can probably be moved. We would have to look and make sure, and I mean, because there are firewalls and stuff in there that we may not know that. I can't say, yeah, we can go tear all the walls out, start building stuff, because that may not be the case.
In most cases, you can move the wall, I think it's 12 feet.
Any more would get a permit.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like there's a post and beam every 12 feet, you can just move the wall to match the new post. What we were fighting at the last bond level was Leland was having trouble with the foundation sinking just beyond on the north side.
That been solved?
Yep. Hasn't moved in like 8 years.
Hey, so what we're gonna do, we've talked again, tried to give you a lot of information around enrollments, costs, so we're gonna spend some time and doing an activity. And this is for you guys to start brainstorming on what you'd like to see us propose in a potential bond. So it says find a partner. If you have someone you like, or someone you don't like, or you can work by yourself, that's completely up to you. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the list of the got it? You're gonna take the project list and the costs. And you're actually gonna start saying what makes sense to you and your partner or by yourself to put in a bond. So on the back of this, you have an example where I just said, you know, this is $130 million. This is some things we could put in. You're gonna make your own list with a partner of what you would want to see us propose to the board, to the voters in a bond. You kind of got some tax information to know the range and the tax implications. One final note is, if you see on your list of the projects, if it's blue and italicized, that was Leland's must-have list of like very, very needed repairs in the schools. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, finish that first.
Yeah, so you'll take this information, the project list. You'll fill out what you believe our school district needs and also what would be sold to voters, what people you think would vote for, because that's a big piece of this. And then we'll do that with the partner 20-30 minutes and then we'll get back together. Christy, what was your question?
In our school budget, do we have a reserve maintenance fund?
Yeah, really good question. Ann, are you standing up to answer that?
I am.
Yeah.
I'm just friend. That's a great question. Chrissy asked, do we have maintenance budget? Do we have a maintenance budget in our regular school budget? And yes, we definitely do. It's just the
But do
dollar.
we have reserve funds?
Yes, and that's how we handle, yes, we put the money into a reserve fund and Leland uses that to manage all of the maintenance and maintenance repair projects. So those can't really be used for major construction. We could do minor, remodels and things like that. But the dollar amount in that fund is a lot smaller. I think it's $1 million or something right now. And that's probably.
So $1 million above what's budgeted.
Yeah, so that's kind of like our regular budget. Plus, we have a general fund budget that pays for just like regular stuff that happens, broken this and broken that.
Things that break.
Like bulbs and, air filters and.
We can turn it into a project. We'll turn it into a project. So like if a motor goes down on a piece of equipment and there's 3 motors, one motor goes down. If we just fix the one motor, that would be a general fund cost. But if the other 2 motors need to be looked at, I'll make a project out of it and we'll go through all of them and update all the motors. So now they're good for another 15 years. Actually,
I don't think that can be said too often. What you just said. I heard people who didn't understand, well, we'll make it from what good is doing on it, but not enough money.
That's a fiction fund, right?
$1 million in that.
It's for new toilets and.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and I think if you try to, you're right, it's, people don't understand, I think if you really compared it to, you know, a private business. When a private business, they have to find room in their general, they only have one, they don't have general fund and other funds, but they have to find room in their budget to maintain their facilities. But if they wanna do something that's outside of maintaining the facilities, they go out and they get a loan sometimes. And that's what the district is, this is our mechanism for getting a loan. The reason we do a bond is because it's the interest rate. It's a tax exempt bond, so it brings those interest rates down below what a regular market interest rate would be for a loan. Which saves the taxpayers money.
Just a question on the new high school with the middle school relocating. I'm assuming that's building a new high school and moving the middle school to what's currently the high school.
I believe that's one of the ideas, yeah.
What would be the plan for the current middle school then?
That's where that's where if I would give it to the city or Parks and Rec, that would be something we want to do. Yeah, turn it into the. One final thing before we let you loose, a lot of the suggestions were around athletic facilities, and I asked Steve Warren from Parks and Rec. The city does have a general loose plan that is legitimate to build an athletic facility. Can you just speak like 1 minute just on kind of what that is and where that?
Yeah, in 2021, the community, the city, the county, the Parks District did a unified master plan. And the 1A, 1B that floated to the top every time was a new recreation center and a new aquatic center. So the Parks District, I'm sure you guys are all aware, for years has been trying to identify a location. How can we make this work? And so the city has a master plan that they did a charrette with the community, and it identified space up at Barnes Boot Recreation Area for a new facility. So I think the city, working with Parks and Recreation District they're trying to do the due diligence to avoid stepping in the same landmines that Madras has or some of the other communities that are building facilities like this. So they looked at conceptually what can fit there. And from a aesthetic architectural design, what should that look like in that area? So it kind of matches the architectural design of Barnesby Elementary and in that area. And they've identified a rather large facility that can fit there. So then the next steps were a feasibility study to determine what type of fees can you charge for those types of facilities? What's it going to cost to maintain and operate? So we don't build something that we don't have the money to continue to keep it up and running. The reserve funds that need to go into it so you can continue to maintain that facility. And so I think we're at phase 3 now, where they're looking at options of how can this be funded and what's the stomach for the community for a bond and how much do they think they can go after. So I think it's something to consider also as we're out going for bonds as different governing entities in the community. You know, if you're showing up with 2 or 3 bonds on the same ballot, what's that going to look like? The city should be having, the city management staff should be presenting to the city council at one of their upcoming meetings, either in January or February, of where they're at with this and really kind of trying to identify a funding strategy for it. But it's a rather large facility. It has conceptually, it could fit an Olympic-sized swimming pool for competition, and then a recreation pool for slides, play area, and then up to 6 full-size basketball courts, which I think is way too much right now for our community, but that's conceptually what can fit in that area. So
I just wanted to make sure you guys had that aspect as well. So,
well, unless part of the 6 is what we're talking about too, and then I think that could change the discussion a little bit, but I mean, we definitely could use 6, but I mean, $200 million facility versus a $70 million facility. How do you manage that?
So let's take some time. And although we try to give you as much information as possible, so you know the guardrails, I think it's still also important to continue to dream for our kids and say, what would be the best for our community? What would be the best for the kids? So go ahead, find a partner. You can do it by yourself. You can get up, move around, but start putting together what you think should go in that bond.
That's why I don't really.
Yeah. Sounds good. And not so much with those with that was great.
No, but I mean, no. Yeah, I'm just.
Yes, yeah. Right, there's gotta be something. Oh, I think that's. To me, that was. The only question to me is. Yeah,
Yeah, so if we picture those. I don't know. You tell me.
That's not fancy. I've already looked at push out. Push
So that actually, you know, yeah, that's
You guys. Not you.
Yeah. I think you're
They redid all the.
If you had
And don't see if I can. Adding. Space there. Yeah. For that.
Let's change our.
Still make my way out.
You know, built it up. enrollment.
Yeah, just that project, I'll fail, let someone else get this every great project. I'm done. So it's gonna be done. Go ahead.
Also, I think you gotta go figure it out. It's both big.
Turn that. All you need to do is figure that little tiny to work. Weird spot.
That's actually.
The whole thing has a common aspect for one home. Say what? That whole building has one common aspect, that was one wall. Building has, the building has one fire wall. Well, if you walk in the front, you start walking down, go three alleyways, and you go your two fire doors. That's the fire. And that goes into the attic. But everything, that's one common
I'm already having.
Especially I'm
And then our deck. They built it so that we refinanced it out and we built it. That was, oh yeah. And so they. But I did get the number.
There's 41 acres that, increase the budget value.
So state law. Next year, like it's us still at. Problem with new homes, they come on the tax and build it $1,000. Actually, goes up the tax rate. So. Home construction. That's a fun line for me. You see homes exactly $1,000.
You're saying it's that value.
Yeah.
The house is, that's 200,000.
Yeah, it's interesting, so like, my counterpart, our other son, has owned two homes up in. So he bought it, built it first home, let's say. Real market value skyrocketing. If I build a home today, 400,000, you build a tax rate, 2,000, you don't get the home. So one does this. All that residential.
Already about 10 minutes. I'm trying to get here from the answer down.
So state law says you pay taxes on the lower assessed value. So right now, the market. But in recession, the market value inverts, and now with some paying taxes on the real market. That's when.
It's driven by inflation.
Right now.
But the taxpayer is saying, oh, my taxes, if I do this And we'll have a dollar increase, it's not a dollar increase, but that's actually a dollar plus 3% every year.
So you pay maximum $15 for $3,000. Maximum $5 for education. So in theory, you have to pay $10 for $1,000.
But that's the state, that's the dark thing.
And then on top of it, then you have bonds over here which don't. So you can pay more than $15. This bond is going down. So.
It's your tax, you don't pay out as taxes on that bond. It should be a 3% increase. If it is a foot, it's a 3% increase yearly.
It's just like, that's like that.
Oh, the stuff coming on the tax bill, yeah.
When it's a bond,
Yeah.
it's not a, you're not saying, we're gonna tax you 63 cents.
Yeah.
We're saying, here's our debt, here's our principal and interest, $2 million. And then the tax assessor spreads that out. And then we then figure out, well, what is the regular tax, the general fund rate? That is.
As I was mentioning, I'm still stuck on the voters, we voted for more taxes.
All right, about 5 minutes, just stop your plan, your
Right. Just trying to figure out, like, is there some way into that conversation where you can try and pay the voters' mind? You know what I mean?
We'll see.
Yeah, we have a way to kind of people.
I think it's good. That's
For whatever reason, do that.
Yes.
The violation here, and we're fixing things. If we're fixing, but also doing things and making the best use of what we have.
Well, so many people. You're actually. You're right. Your tax dollars are working. That could be when you already.
When I,
It's all about that.
You've got here.
What do you think with it?
Why shouldn't you? Yeah, and that kind of like
Not thrilled next year.
But years ago, they asked me, how do you think we could press one?
All right, about 2 minutes, and it's fine if you're not done with your plan in the next 2 minutes.
Immediate impact, so it's necessity. You're gonna need it, that's why you have 5 year. Part of that starts with stability.
I manage all the things.
Last two things.
They've all three.
But there's a way consistent. That's every time.
All right, 1 minute till we pull back together, 1 minute.
There's a lot of books on there.
Measurements.
Yeah, Ryan's on stage. But from Harmsville, that's like, what we do.
Okay, so here's the plan. So I saw, some of our groups were really on task and got their plan together. I saw Trent and Jake just hammered out a plan on it. Others are more conversational and both are fine. We're gonna collect all these and that way we can make copies and everyone can see everyone's plan. But first we thought we just, could you just share out just generally what you were thinking as part of your bond plan? Marcus, Ryan, you guys wanna go first?
Go for it first. The costs definitely changes some of our conversation. Cause we ran some numbers at about $50 million just for heating, cooling, roofing. For the needs of the building and the district, and that's crazy. And that's not going to sell. Like trying to get big bonds, and so we kind of then talked about adding on high school, whether it be a CTE wing is one of them. With automotive, Ryan was saying is a huge want and need from our kids and our community. So if we extended on the north side with the CTE wing, we think that would be something that could sell. And then on the south end, kind of where the softball field is, if there was like a sports complex with a new wrestling, possible weight room, and a basketball court, practice basketball court, some restrooms or small locker rooms, we think that would be something that could sell, and turning possible wrestling and weight room into like the team rooms that's needed at the high school for hosting events like last night. If any of you guys were there, it was just crazy. So talking about those things that sell, and then obviously we weren't sure with how new elementary space is a huge need of our district with the so we weren't sure what that meant with new elementary expansion at 12 million. We didn't have much on that one, so.
Thanks, Sharon. Officer Kaufman, you guys were talking a lot. What was your conversation?
Well, this is a monumental situation that we're facing. You got Parks and Rec and the city that are talking about a athletic facility, swimming pool and all that, and then you've got us. We need new buildings, new classroom space, we need new roofs, we need new air conditioning and boilers and all of these things. These are hard facts that we need those things. You have two competing interests with the two different projects. Our feeling was here is that everybody needs to get together and combine forces and combine projects and pursue it as a shared project of interest for the entire community instead of separate things to pass. If they throw that up at the same time we throw up ours, or they throw that up and then a few months later we throw ours up.
Yeah.
It's not gonna go well. And so
Really good point.
Dave was adding up numbers just on maintenance, security, and
So what I did when I was in Boeing, had a budget, we put down, we started with the absolute must-haves, and then maybe the nice to haves, and then the very bottom that always got locked off, where the goods.
Yeah.
So the safety upgrades, roof repair, boiler repair and displacement, fire protection system, HVAC and infrastructure, and the new elementary school, you're already at $94 million.
Yeah, it adds up. When we ran those numbers, it's kind of like a gut punch, like Marcus, you said, where it kind of changes your plan real quick of having to prioritize, so.
We didn't even talk about trades programs.
Exactly. And we have to think about what gets voters excited, what people want to vote for, because that plays into all of this. Any other groups want to share? We're getting low on time. Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, I think we probably mirror a lot of the other conversations, but you guys hit us with a real dose of reality today. Last time it was a nicety conversation, and I think today we've kind of narrowed in more on a necessity type bond, and that's where we were going with this. So We go back to Leland, you know, the guy that's been doing this for a while, that knows these facilities and knows what he needs. Just to continue, it's mission critical, just to continue functioning. And then we looked at the $109 million bond that keeps you at about the dollar and not much over that. I think that's important because that's something that the school district promised years ago that they're gonna try and keep it within that. So I think that helps a little bit. And then I think that, you know, if you can get something like this passed and you can show the work that's being done to fix those necessity items, then you start looking at your phase 2 and phase 3. And we think in those phases that there's got to be some more information on remodeling and expansion of existing facilities to assist with that enrollment issue problem that you have.
Awesome. And Steve? Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, so Dr. Yucca, Don and myself, we reviewed this, and I'm a kind of an insight guy, so I have a perspective on things, although I understand bonds. So we came up with number one is we need a new middle school. And so we took all the new boilers and roofs that the middle school needs, just on this documentation here. We're at $20 million just for upgrading an old building that's still an old building and still has more needs. So at a new, and this doesn't include the land, but at a new middle school at 90 million. There's 20 million in just repairs for that middle school now. It still needs more. So there's some savings I see there by doing a new middle school. And then we came up with the rest of it is basically new roofs, new boilers and some HVAC controls, but we also believe that Bellevue needs a reconfiguration. They need something up there. It's the community is not gonna let Bellevue go, and there's a huge need up there. They're schooling out of old modular buildings. And there's just not enough money to go around. I didn't include a lot of athletics things that Carol would like to include a new stadium. But the money goes real quickly when you start adding involvements.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Bellevue. We've got about 5 minutes left. Doug?
Juniper Canyon. So one of the things we talked about was adding a P6 maybe in Juniper Canyon. So there's a third of our population in the county that lives in Juniper Canyon, and those kids are driving up and down that every day. And you know, it's a long bus ride if you've ever done it. So we talked about the roofing and those things need to be done. We think that, you know, we talked about the big cost in a building, the school is the core. The gyms, the locker rooms, the offices where you have a lot of walls and everything. And so there's the possibility that if you look at the core of the middle school, you expand back out with remodels and extensions on that. And the other thing we talked about was keeping the middle school, right? How big do you want a middle school? Do you want 1,000 middle schools and schoolers in one building? No, you don't. You want to split it. You want to get to a point where you can have half of them here and half of them someplace else in the future. But then you got to get to a critical mass somewhere around 750, 800 before you split it, or it becomes very expensive to operate. And so that's what our thoughts were, was buy 10 more years or 15 more years at the middle school. Add another wing on high school, right? Come out for Lynn Boulevard and put another educational wing on it and add some CTE into it. And CTE. Then fix, you know, we just added some money and said, fix athletics. Right? Because you're going to have to figure out how to spend that money wisely. And it's also going to be, having done this, it's going to be up to what the bids come in at. Because if somebody underbids and you've got $3 or $4 million more, you're going to adjust that accordingly. Because once you start going out for bid, the money's already set. The projects have to be what you adjust. You have to adjust scope.
So I think Marcus Hayes could handle 1,000 middle schoolers, but I don't think it'd be pretty. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any other volunteers? Yeah.
In the business world, all we would need to do is put on a second shift.
There you go.
Double our
Raise the price.
Well, if you're the federal government, you can just print more money, just make it up. Yeah.
Hey, so here's the plan. So our next meeting is February 4th. We're gonna be in the Crook County High School Library. We will take all your materials. You're welcome, if you wanna look through the price estimates, the enrollment price, feel free to take those home. Any writing that you believe we should keep and log away these plans, please just leave those at your tables and we'll grab those. I said, hey, invite a friend. There are awesome people here that weren't here last time. The more people, the more minds, voices, ideas, the better. So feel free to bring anyone. Everyone's encouraged. We'll continue to develop the bond plan. We do have, if you've never been in Grizzly Mountain Home Link, Steens Pillar in this complex, and you want a tour, Leland gives fantastic tours. So you can stick around. Any final questions from the group before we let you out of here? If you could leave your plans just on your table, we'll pick those up and get those. Thank you all again for being here. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you in February. Thanks.
Thanks for being here.